Tonight on Joy News Prime, amid condemnations from members, the Speaker of Parliament has referred Asin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong to the Privileges Committee for his threats on the life of Erastus Asare Donkor, a journalist with the multimedia group.
Circumstances are direct that this matter referred to the Committee on Privileges for investigation and report to the House.
The threats have also been condemned by several groups in the media who are calling for urgent investigations.
The latest threats against Asare Donkor present another prompting to deal surgically with the cancer of impunity, which is a stain on reputation as the citadel of press freedom in Africa.
The committee probing the drug killings has meanwhile been told how the Ashanti region town has been so politicized, not even weddings have been spared.
Everything.
The Finance Committee has also recommended for approval the $28 million loan to be used to procure vehicles for MPs and members of the Council of State. The public is being advised to be on the lookout for new COVID-19 symptoms, as the old symptoms are no longer that prevalent.
They don't look so sick, have the classical symptoms of coughing, difficulty breathing, sore throat, fever like we used to see first. This time they can come with any presentation, like a stroke or a pregnant woman who has come with fever.
In business, government expects some significant increase in revenue mobilization in the coming months following the formal launch of the single digital payment platform, Ghana.gov.
It is a real weapon in the fight against demons and principalities in the public sector.
My name is Israel. Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our Founder for Studios at Kokomilimi here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. In our first story, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has referred Asin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong to the Privileges Committee for his threat on the life of a journalist with the multimedia group Erastus Asare Donkor. The MP on his Net2 TV program suggested the journalist who had covered the Ejura disturbances and appeared before the investigative committee ought to be beaten. The referral came after Tamale North MP Alhassan Suini raised the issue on the floor.
The Speaker, I therefore call on you to exercise your powers under 27 to refer Honorable Kennedy Ohini Agyapong, whose acts and conduct, Mr. Speaker, continue to affront the dignity of Parliament and bring it into disrepute, as captured under Order 32. Mr. Speaker, my basis is on the conduct of the said member on his own television network, which has caused another network, Joy FM, to refer him to the CID for investigation. Mr. Speaker, the letter from Multimedia to the CID quotes what he said on his show. Mr. Speaker, I also have a copy of the said program as attached to the petition sent to the CID. And this letter by Multimedia is dated July 13, 2021, where he is copiously referred to as the chairman of the Committee of Defense and Interior. And Mr. Speaker, for those utterances to be attributed to the committee chairman of this House, Mr. Speaker, I think it calls for the attention of this House, for the chairman of the Committee of Defense and Interior to go public and urge that the President, the Commander-in-Chief, beats people, physically assaults people. He says, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, that if he were the President of Ghana, he would have ensured that the said journalist, Erastus Asare Donkor, is beaten mercilessly. Mr. Speaker, he says that, in fact, Erastus Asare Donkor should be beaten seriously. And Mr. Speaker, this comes in the wake of another such utterances he made in relation to Ahmed Swale, which led, in the view of some people, to the identity of Ahmed Swale being compromised and eventually murdered. Mr. Speaker, I think that as a former journalist, I feel obliged, Mr. Speaker, to draw the House's attention to this conduct of an honorable colleague of this House, which in my view, brings this House into disrepute.
Speaker Alban Bagbin then referred the matter to the Privileges Committee.
The House's attention is drawn to the conduct of one of our members. And under Order 27, which I want to quote in extenso, it says, notwithstanding anything contained in these orders, Mr. Speaker may refer any questions of privilege to the Committee of Privileges for examination, investigation, and report. Notwithstanding anything contained in these orders. In spite of the word notwithstanding, the Speaker is given the discretion, says may refer any questions of privileges. I think that is why the honorable member is seeking my intervention to refer the matter to the Privileges Committee. This is my first time of hearing this matter. As it is now, I am compelled to refer it to the Privileges Committee. It's a matter the Privileges Committee will have to go into and then report to the House. And it's for the House to decide whether the honorable member is contentious. In the circumstances, I direct that this matter be referred to the Committee on Privileges for investigation and report to the House. I so direct. It's important for me to emphasize here that the privilege and immunity of free speech applies in full force in plenary sessions and committee sessions, not when members are outside debating issues or on radio or TV. You don't have that right, that privilege, that immunity to just say anything because you are a member of Parliament. Not at all.
Now, Vice Chairman of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, Samuel Atta-Mills, is also urging the Ghana Police Service to be decisive and deal with the Asin Central MP. He says the police should be bold enough to invite him for questioning, even though he chairs the Defence and Interior Committee in Parliament. Mr. Samuel Atta-Mills says the threats are uncalled for and unfortunate and should not be swept under the carpet.
Anybody, whether a member of Parliament, a government official, or anybody will threaten any reporter for reporting the news. If the reporter is in error, there's a proper way to address that. You go to court, you see the owners of the news media. But to threaten them with the background of Ahmed Swale and other reporters who have been assaulted, this is uncalled for. That is a four-day state. We have the three arms of government, but the organization or the group that keeps all of us honest is the press. The press listens to what we do, looks at what we do. They educate the public, they inform the public, and then they also entertain the public. Now, if we are threatening them, what are we trying to do? Now, let me ask you this. If a tree falls in a forest and there's nobody to tell you about it, did the tree fall? That is the job of the media, is to let us know what is going on, to educate us, and then to inform us on so many things. So it's uncalled for anybody to threaten any member of the press. And I think there should be an action against that.
The multimedia group has petitioned the police to take action on that. What's your expectation?
I expect that the police will stop being a political part of a political party and do what is right. And I know that there are so many good and professional police officers in their service, and I know that they will do the right thing. Do not let any political party push you away. Be the professional that you are.
So take him on, is that your expectation?
Yes.
Probably invite him for questioning, is that what you're hoping to happen?
Anybody who has made any threat to any reporter should be called in, should be questioned, and God forbid anything happens to any reporter. For in their line of duty, those people should be held accountable.
We'll be shortly going over to Parliament House to find out what next now that the Speaker of Parliament has referred the Assin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong to the Privileges Committee. But staying with the matter, a number of media groupings, including the Ghana Journalists Association, Media Foundation for West Africa, and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, have roundly condemned the verbal attacks on Love FM's Erastus Asare Donkor by the MP Kennedy Agyapong. At a news conference to address the issue Wednesday, they demanded urgent investigations. GJA President Roland Afel-Moni, who spoke on behalf of the industry players, says the issue must be treated seriously.
It can be a fatal gamble to toy with the threats against the life of Erasmus Asare Donkor. Every life is of sacred worth and intrinsic value. The right to life and personal liberty is of primordial importance, which all Ghanaians everywhere and at all times must enjoy. The life of Erasmus Asare Donkor must be protected at all costs, and we urge the National Security Apparatus to take this up with urgent promptitude and utmost seriousness. It is not enough for the petition to the relevant quarters to gain traction. What is most needed is concrete action on all fronts to address the issue. And we shall not rest until something concrete is done. On Ahmed Swale's assassination, impunity and timid attempts to fight it as the main reason for the decline in Ghana's ranking on the World Press Freedom Index. The latest threats against Asare Donkor present another prompting to deal surgically with the cancer of impunity, which is a stain on reputation as the citadel of press freedom in Africa.
Mr. Moni wants media practitioners to remain resolute.
Freedom is the sure possession of those only who can defend it, quote and unquote. All journalists must be in the front line to defend their freedom with scrupulous regard for the foundational values of truth, fairness, balance, and objectivity. We should work with utmost responsibility and highest sensitivity. As for the enemies of press freedom, the laws must bite and bite them hard, regardless of who they are or what they have. That way, our national motto of freedom and justice will hold true. To all journalists, we urge you to be unafraid and unintimidated as you unravel the truth, expose dark spots, hold power to account, and illuminate society with quality news and information. Finally, we leave you with quotes from Psalm 121, verses 7 and 8. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your lives. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Thank you.
The parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with what to expect next after the referral of the Asin Central MP to the Privileges Committee. Joseph, so what are we to expect next?
And so, Israel, what would happen next is that the committee, chaired by Jose Uso, who is the first deputy speaker, will actually meet and then determine the conditions that will guide the investigation that they will do, whether they would require for evidence and who exactly they would invite to come respond to questions on the issue. Repeatedly, when it comes to incidents of privileges that have been dealt with by the committee, it's been public hearings. So if you recall, there was one involving Mr. Japan himself when he allegedly called Osaiche Mensah Bonsu an idiot in a radio interview. And it was something that was done in the full glare of the cameras. And so that's the expectation, that this said probe would also be done as an open one without it being an in-sitting session. And then once the MPs are done, there are actually about 26 MPs on that particular committee. When they are done, they will report to the House as far as what their recommendations are concerned are, and then the House will adopt or reject whatever recommendations they will come up with.
Joseph, do we know how soon they would start their work or the referral will get to them?
The interesting bit is that the chairman of the committee himself, Jose Uso, is someone that the Speaker mentioned as one of very high integrity who should be looking at this. The Speaker said it was very much of importance to him, except that he didn't give a specific timeline in terms of when he's hoping that the investigation will be done eventually. We are unable to tell how quickly the committee will sit to then determine what the way forward should be. So it's likely by the end of the week we would have that additional information, Israel.
But was the MP himself in Parliament today?
Mr. Kennedy Ohene Agyapong is not someone that I spotted in the House as at the time that the processes were unfolding in terms of the request by Al-Hassan Suhuyini that he be dragged before the Privileges Committee. Even earlier in the day, he wasn't spotted in the House, and the House has been sitting up until just about 10 minutes ago. I've not spotted him around either.
All right. Now, the other issue that came up on the floor of Parliament apparently in the last hour is that there's been an approval of the $28 million loan to procure vehicles for MPs and members of the Council of State. Tell us more about that.
So we are waiting for a full debate on the report of the Finance Committee, after which the approval will be given. So what actually happened today was that the report of the Finance Committee was laid on the floor, but a debate on it has been scheduled at a later date. So we are waiting for that process to unfold for the real approval to happen. Now, to run through the specific details, the committee is recommending that the House actually approves the said $28 million facility, which will eventually go to members of Parliament as loans for them to pay back. And then there's another $3.5 million similar facility that's going to the Council of State. The committee's report is recommending that both requests be approved with the National Investment Bank. But then it makes the point that there is a $13.5 million tax waiver that should as well be approved. But interestingly, conspicuously missing in the committee's recommendation is anything on the 60% bit that is expected that government will pay on behalf of the members of Parliament, because we know that the Professor Ntiamu Abedu Committee's report recommended that government pays the 60%, In fact, the document that was laid on the floor of the House by the Deputy Finance Minister, Abna Osei Asare, did detail that it's only 40% that MPs will be paying back, but that bit of it is missing in the report, and we are waiting the explanation when the House eventually debates the report for the necessary approval.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gako, bringing us that update from Parliament, and we will still be here waiting for any feedback that you or an update that you have. But we're going back to the issue of the Asin Central MP. Now, the Media Foundation for West Africa says is deeply concerned about the MP's hostility towards Erastus Asare Donkor and his open call for the journalists to be beaten. This concern is born out of Kennedy Agyapong's previous attacks on Ahmed Suale before the investigative journalist was murdered in Accra on January 16, 2019. Now, the MP had published a picture of the undercover journalist and urged the supporters to attack him wherever they found him. Against this background, the Media Foundation says, we find Kennedy Agyapong's attack on Erastus Asare Donkor reckless and highly disappointing, especially from an MP, and at this time when the country is still mourning the killing of Ibrahim Mohammed Kaka and the 2 protesters. Security officers have been involved in too many operations involving civilians that have been fraught with several security breaches and ended in mayhem, thus threatening to undermine public confidence in the security service. As the chair of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior, we expected Kennedy Agyapong to show some concern about this sad trend. We therefore find it scandalous that he has chosen to make the media the target of his undignified tantrums. The work of the 3-month committee sitting at Ejura is, among others, to find out the perpetrators of the killing. It is therefore unfortunate, hasty, and prejudicial for Kennedy Agyapong to accuse Erastus Asare Donkor in particular of causing the death. The MFWA condemns the attack on the journalist and the attempt to incite the public against him. We call on the police to take note of the dangerous pronouncements and the threats that it portends for the journalist's life. We urge the government to call Kennedy Agyapong to order and to take steps to offer Erastus Asare Donkor the needed protection. We also commend the management of MGL for bringing the matter to the attention of the police and other relevant institutions. In another development, the Nifahini of Ejura has dismissed suggestions delays by police in investigating the attack on social activist Ibrahim Mohammed led to the infamous Ejura clashes. The killing of Kaka Macho led to the shooting to death of 2 people and injuries to 6 others. Nanose Kojo Antibie II says, though delay in handling the attack may be a factor, it cannot be the only reason for the Ejura clashes. He told the committee probing the Ejura killings, distractions caused to other facilities and structures apart from the police station by the youth informed his decision to call in security reinforcement. My colleague Ohiming Teo of the security desk sat through the committee sitting in our reports.
A contingent of chiefs clad in black cloth from Ejura Traditional Council was led by the chief of Ejura, Bema Osei Kojo Hwedeɛ II, to testify before the committee at the Prempeh Assembly Hall Auditorium. Nana Osei Kojo Ansabie, the Nifahini, described by the committee as a man with military background, led the chiefs to testify.
At least my professor has said a lot about you. So at least sitting here, I know that you have some military background.
Nana Nifahini, yes, my lord has already let the cat out. I didn't want to. You have a military background.
And the man with military background went ahead to disagree with suggestions by chairman of the committee, George Kingsley Kumsin, that the disturbances would not have escalated had the municipal commander been proactive with complaints on attack on Kaka Macho.
My lord, knowing Ejura as it is, and the sort of violence and those things that come in, whether they took immediate action or they delayed, I believe those who did what they did would have done the same thing. It might have contributed to it, but definitely it's not the only reason for that.
Not even further questioning from the chair could make Nana Osei Kojo change his stance.
If I understand you, you are saying that if the municipal police commander had even acted proactively on the complaint lodged in respect of the assaults on Kaka, the youth will still have done what they did.
Yes, my lord.
For a man who supports deployment of the military to complement the under-resourced police service in Ejura, the vehicle used by the officers is of less concern to him.
I wish to state that as to whether the vehicle had Operation Calm Life or COVID on it, there are soldiers in it who came to perform the duty.
Nana Osei Kwadwo proposed the establishment of military detachment in Ejura to scare the violence in youth who may want to take a similar path in the future.
One situation starts this way. By the time you get reinforcement, under the circumstances we all operate, or let me say all the services operate, it becomes very difficult. So we think that if we have them around, or a detachment around, they will reinforce the police. And then also, I must say, the police, not that I'm not passing judgment on their performance, but if you say a policeman is coming, there are some people who are doing something, or maybe, let me say, misbehaving. Maybe we just turn around and smile. But the knowledge that we have one or two soldiers even coming around is enough to deter.
But does politics play out in the Ejura clashes and beyond? Please, don't laugh at Nana Osei Kwadwo's answer.
There's nothing that happens in Ejura that you can take politics out of it. In Ejura, everything, including weddings, engagements, everything, there's some element of politics in it, depending on who is doing it.
Meanwhile, sitting is suspended until Friday. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi Nteria reporting.
All right, we're taking a break to bring you business, but also in the bulletin, the public is being advised to be on the lookout for new COVID-19 symptoms, as the old symptoms are no longer that prevalent.
Don't look so sick, have the classical symptoms of coughing, difficulty breathing, sore throat, fever like we used to see first. This time they can come with any presentation, like a stroke or a pregnant woman who has come with fever.
In business, government expects some significant increase in revenue mobilization in the coming months following the formal launch of the single digital payment platform, Ghana.gov.
A real weapon in the fight against demons and principalities in the public sector.
Tune in, we'll be back in a bit.
And you're welcome to Business. Government expects some significant increase in revenue mobilization in the coming months following the formal launch of the government's single digital platform payment, Ghana.gov, today. The platform will enable the general public to pay for all government services and goods online with debit or credit card as well as mobile money. Let's listen to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Transactions will be recorded instantly, avoiding any bribery and corruption regarding the quoted service fee and curtailing the risk of embezzlement. We had a video where the Ministry of Tourism, the representative, was talking about how they digitize payments in places like Elmina Castle and so on. What he did not tell you was that that pilot for the Ministry of Tourism, for those centers, increased revenue by fourfold.
Away from that, the rise in cost of foodstuffs and transportation pushed inflation for the month of June marginally up to about 0.3% to 7.8%. However, this marginal increment will not affect the cost of living that much, according to some analysts. Let's listen to the government statistician in this report put together by Benessa Sawote. This is the first time in many years that a country has recorded a single-digit inflation for 3 consecutive times, despite the marginal increase in prices of goods and services as compared to previous years. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Ening, explains what this means to the cost of living.
This literally means that between June 2020 and June 2021, on a year-on-year basis, prices of goods and services have gone up by 7.8%.
On the other hand, locally produced food items recorded a higher increase in prices more than imported items.
From a locally produced item and an imported item point of view, we see a differential inflation rate of 0.9%, with locally produced items recording 7.9% relative to 7.0% recorded for imported inflation, 7.0%.
Unlike food inflation, the year-on-year non-food inflation rate went down in the month of June from 9.2% to 8.2%. Now, in Ghana, poor corporate governance practices and resultant risky financial dealings were found to be largely responsible for the 2017 and 2018 banking crisis experienced in the country. It is for this reason that the UPSA Law School is holding its quarterly banking roundtable with the topics banks, corporate governance and risky dealings on Thursday, July 15. Gertrude Amoko-Ama is lecturer at the UPSA Law School as well as coordinator of the quarterly banking roundtable, and she joins us via Zoom for more on this. Gertrude, we're so grateful that you joined us. First of all, what informed the import of this roundtable?
Yes, thank you very much for having us. The UPSA Law School is truly grateful for this opportunity that you have given us. Like you rightly noted, poor corporate governance practices were identified as one of the major causes of the banking crisis experienced in 2017. So for us at the UPSA Law School, we deemed it fit to take a second look at the root cause of some of these poor corporate governance practices. Also, we thought it wise that it would be important to look at the regulatory reforms that were made following the crisis and to find out their adequacy or otherwise. So that really is the reason why the Banking Quarterly Roundtable will tomorrow be addressing the issue of banks, corporate governance, and risky dealings.
So what exactly should participants be expecting ahead of the event tomorrow?
Thank you. I can assure you that for all persons who would log in to the webinar tomorrow, they can expect a detailed and rigorous analysis of issues pertaining to the role of boards of financial institutions, also board dynamics, and would also like to look at issues concerning risky dealings in governance, which would essentially cover matters of related party transactions and conflict of interest and duty in the banking sector. Finally, they can also look out for issues concerning certain emerging issues in corporate governance of financial institutions. I may want to add that we have put together seasoned experts and practitioners from the Bank of Ghana, the Institute of Directors Ghana, as well as Absa Bank Ghana for this discussion. And for those who may want to join the webinar, I can just say that they can visit the websites of the UPSA Law School or even visit our Facebook pages for information on joining the webinar.
Gertrude, we're so grateful that you joined us. And of course, she's going to be helping us. She helped us understand the import of the upcoming event tomorrow between 3 to 4 p.m. and Joy Business will be partners to that. That's how we end business. I'm Charles Aite. Many thanks for watching.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment with me, Eric Wampo. Well, we do start off with some good news as the rugby, the Rugby African Cup currently ongoing, and Ghana is on the verge of securing a top 8 spot in the Rugby Africa Cup after coming from behind to win against Algeria in Kampala earlier today. Joy Sports' Asari Yako has more in this report.
To defeat to powerhouse Uganda in their opening game on July 10, Ghana was in a make-or-break situation heading into today's game against Algeria in Kampala. The Eagles produced a spirited display to overturn a horrible first-half result. Ghana, ranked 87th in the world, trailed Algeria 20-3 at halftime, but rallied back in superb fashion to win 22-20. Ghana's coach Lavmo Kuzorera explains why the team was so poor in the first half.
The first half, we made a couple of mistakes. I believe we didn't settle in time. But when we got to halftime, we spoke as a team.
Selom Gavo, captain of Ghana's rugby team, reviews why the team was unstoppable in the second half of the game against Algeria.
So in the second half, I think we just decided to look after the ball a bit better. We looked after the ball and kept possession instead of just giving them rights to play with the ball, and we showed what we can do, and we do keep the ball in hand. Some of the backs got ball in hand and really enjoyed it, and that's what we want to do. We want to play smiles on our faces and move the ball around.
Ghana will make it to the top 8 of the Rugby Africa Cup if Uganda beat Algeria on Saturday.
Now, before we go, let's come back home where Hearts of Oak head coach Samuel Boadu has attributed the team's success in this year's Ghana Premier League to his leadership qualities. The Phobians have been declared champions with one game left to play. We do have more for you in the following report.
Boadu accepted the Hearts of Oak job at the time the Continental Club Masters were struggling in the Ghana Premier League. It was a bold decision, agreeing to steer a sinking ship in the middle of the sea. The 35-year-old left his comfort zone at Medeama Sporting Club and led Hearts of Oak to their first league title since 2009. Ahead of their league game against Wafa on Sunday, Samuel Boadu has revealed to Joy Sports how he was able to turn things around.
Me a mentor, me a motivator, me a teacher. Right, me a father, me a brother to omo me no we adwuma nyina eti baby ameko bia me fees me pese love and peace and unity ye bitimi dey move on am say no ni ade a na e ka me ho enso ye part of me a e ma me ye different a metimi dey ru House of Folk adwuma ma matim na timi abedru sabre.
The year 2000 champions Hearts of Oak will represent Ghana in next year's CAF Champions League.
For Hearts of Oak would be officially champions this weekend when the coronation takes place, and they are presented a trophy after their final league game against Wafa. That's how we wrap up the first segment of sports here. My name is Orik Wampo, and we'll be back with the second segment.
Right, it's time for Showbiz. Becky Bex is here. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Easy. How you doing?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm fantastic. Let's talk about Kwamina MP. So the MP, in front or behind his name or wherever the MP is, apparently has a meaning.
Okay.
So he's been on Start with KMJ, my colleague KMJ, on Joy Prime, and he's been revealing all about how his name came about and life itself at high school.
Okay, so one, I just need to get a quick update on Moesha, because there's been concern. We still haven't heard from. She hasn't posted anything.
Victoria Michaels, who actually introduced her to Christ, says that everything is okay. She's been taken care of, and so everybody should stay calm. So if you're looking for anything, Victoria Michaels is, somebody that we can trust because she
has been involved all along.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's talk about Jennifer Lopez. She says that happiness is what she wants after going back to her ex-boyfriend. So they were dating her ex-boyfriend, Ben Affleck. So they dated back in 2014, and they broke up. And then she broke up with her current boyfriend and then went back to the old boyfriend again. And so a lot of people are, saying that, oh, why do you want to do that? Why are you?
Oh, but here in Ghana, we say Sankofa.
And yeah, Bonnie. So she said that all she cares about is her happiness. Here is Peace by ET Entertainment Tonight.
Right. In other words, Munamo.
Munamoble. Or moble. Yeah, I mean,
they're fine, and then that's up to you.
Yeah, it's your happiness, my happiness, their happiness. Forget about it. Don't listen to people.
All right, thank you very much, Becky, for bringing us Showbiz. That'll be all for those who are watching on Joy Prime, but there's more news on the Joy News channel social media. Let's now take a look at Ghana's COVID-19 case count now, which has seen an uptick in recent days. So as of July 9, 2021, 802 persons had died from COVID-19. 23 persons had been recorded to be in severe condition, with 11 patients in critical condition. Now, the active cases currently stand at 2,314. Meanwhile, some COVID patients reporting at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital are said to be exhibiting unusual symptoms. Head of the COVID center there, Dr. Emmanuel Ahiable, explains more and more patients are reporting a wide range of symptoms, including stroke.
For the past 3 weeks or so, we've seen the increase. There's increase in numbers of positive cases on admissions at our ICU, intensive care units. So the situation, I won't say is bad, but the numbers are going up. Yes. So currently we have, like you said, 8 patients in our COVID ICU out of 16 beds, and they range between severe to moderate cases. We were having 5 patients before these new cases were brought. So 3 more cases have been brought this afternoon. They were tested yesterday. The results came today. So when you add the 3 to the 5 who were already there, we are going to have 8 patients currently. Out of them, 2 of them are pregnant women who have tested positive. The holding area ward is now at this side, which has 8 beds. But currently the 8 beds are filled. That means we have 8 suspected cases who have been tested, are waiting their results. So we have 8 beds for holding, which is already filled. And the ICU has 60 beds, like I said earlier. Currently we have 8, so about half full. No. Yes, interestingly, those who have been admitted now, when they present to the emergency or the hospital, they don't look so sick, have the classical symptoms of coughing, difficulty breathing, sore throat, fever like we used to see first. This time they can come with any presentation, like a stroke, or a pregnant woman who has come with fever, just like any person come to the hospital. So now the index of suspicion among the clinicians are going up. So when they realize that your symptoms are a little bit strange, because it's now not characteristics of the previous one, the fever, the sore throat, the cough. Some of them are not even coughing at all. So it makes this one a little bit difficult to detect. Like I said earlier, they may complain of maybe mild headache, my nose is congested and I can't smell, or they don't feel well, general unwell. But there's no coughing like before. There's no shortness of breath like before. So this time the symptoms are a little bit different from the previous one. So you may not detect it early. Yes.
For those who have been hospitalized, for instance, do you find out whether they've been vaccinated, or how many of them have been vaccinated, how many of them haven't taken their jabs yet, and what are the symptoms they're showing? Is the vaccination helping in any way?
Surprisingly, those who have been admitted here, and the 2 who passed, they have not been vaccinated. No, they have not vaccinated. And those who are here now, the 3 who are now coming, I haven't interviewed them, but the rest, 5, majority of them have not been vaccinated.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So it shows that those who are vaccinated will get the milder symptoms in case they get tested positive. So those who are here, majority of them have not been vaccinated yet.
The Ghana Health Service has meanwhile denied claims the country is quickly running out of ICU beds due to the recent wave of COVID-19 infections. According to Director General Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji, though there's been an increase in people contracting the virus and requiring hospital admission, they are not necessarily in critical condition. Providing an update on Ghana's case management, the Director General said there's no cause for alarm.
1,000 active cases, and we have an average case count of about 120 cases, mainly in Accra, Greater Accra, and Ashanti. Severe and critical care cases still, however, remain low, but it's not like, let's say, 4 weeks ago. We are having some increase, but still not high. Greater Accra and Ashanti regions are driving the outbreak in the country. Almost all the cases are in this. Once in a while, we have a few cases in Eastern and other places. We have report outbreaks. Mainly, this outbreak has been more of clusters. We have them in schools and workplaces. For the past 6 to 8 weeks, we've not had vaccination, and that's one situation. And as we are all aware, adherence to protocol is generally low. And this is a call that we need to be able to take that seriously, especially in the wake of the current changes. When it comes to the arrivals, we also started seeing a slight increase, which I'll show you later. We've so far had about 1,997 people testing positive on arrival. We've tested more than 366,000 people. Positivity rate is lower than the general community population, which is about 0.55, and the males account for the larger proportion of the cases. The slight increase as you go on. The critical cases are not significantly increasing, but it tells you that we are having some surge in the number of cases, which is, of course, represent a proportion of those who are positive.
Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji also revealed government is expecting over 1 million doses of Pfizer vaccines, as well as other vaccines from the COVAX facility in the African Union.
Vaccines, we are expecting about 1.2 million Pfizer vaccines from COVAX through the US through the COVAX for us, and we are hoping that later by middle of August it should be available for that. We also, as mentioned earlier, about 250,000 doses of AstraZeneca will be coming in for the second dose of those people, but obviously we continue engaging other options to ensure that we have enough to cover all those who are waiting for their second dose. For Johnson & Johnson, we have an agreement with AU for about 17 million doses. We are expecting that by middle of August or end of July. We actually mentioned that maybe by end of July we may get some sample. But I think because of all this schedule and changes, we are just making it tentative. But if it happens, that's what we are all hoping for, so that we can start giving some Johnson & Johnson as part of the dose. But to prepare for more vaccines, we have had to upgrade our cold chain facility, especially the ultra-negative cold chain, which can store Pfizer, Moderna, and the other newer vaccines that we talked about. So far, with our collaboration with Zipline, we have the capacity to store about 1.7 million doses out there. Yesterday, we received 16 ultra-negative cold chain vaccines that will be distributed to all regions to ensure that we are able to vaccinate all people. And then we are expecting additional deliveries of delivery vans and fridges bought by the government to augment our capacity across the country.
In the current testing regime in place in the country,
our ability to test is enormous, both public and private. I will not be able to tell you in terms of figures, but I think we have excess capacity in testing. Testing comes with a policy. The policy of testing is that you have a case, you do their contacts, and you follow up. Our studies from the early phase of the initial surge gave us an average of 11 contacts per person. So if you are getting 800 cases per day, the total number of tests you do is certainly going to be more than if you are getting 100 or 120. So the testing we are doing is still sensitive enough to pick up the cases. That's why when there's a wave, we pick it up. And once you start picking a case, you go around and test them. We had a few cases in Achimota. We've done nearly 2,000 tests. And all of them, results came within 48 hours. And so that tells you that our testing capacity has increased and also become very efficient. So I don't think that because you are having a wave now, we should just pitch camp and start testing everybody. I don't think that people like to be tested. I mean, I don't know whether you have done a test before, and when your text message comes, how is it to open your book, your phone, and check what the results were? So we have a policy, and that's what we are following.
Also, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital will soon be able to supply oxygen to other health facilities. This comes after the facility expanded its oxygen supply unit by laying a 350-meter pipe from the old oxygen plant to a new one, which will have more than enough oxygen to supply almost all the units in the hospital. Project Manager Matthew Kwedu made this known to Joy News after the National COVID-19 Trust Fund officially commissioned a 314,000 cedi pipeline from the oxygen plant to the hospital's COVID-19 intensive care unit. Anodame has more in this report.
The Greater Accra Regional Hospital has been at the forefront of treating COVID-19 patients. The facility has therefore enjoyed some benefits as a result, but not oxygen to the ICU unit, which had to buy 25,000 cedis worth of oxygen weekly for COVID-19 patients in need of the life-saving commodity. Medical Director Dr. Emmanuel Srefonyo explains why the oxygen plant, which is already stationed at the facility, could not supply to the COVID-19 unit.
The oxygen plant has been delivering oxygen here, but we did not have a plant, or we did not have the pipes that lead to that side. And that is why the idea came that why don't we just have a pipe from the plant. The capacity of the plant was good. It was going to be able to continue supplying this block, and also additionally can take any additional load.
An appeal to the COVID-19 fund saw the laying of a 350-meter pipe from the oxygen generating plant room to the manifold room, which then supplies oxygen to the COVID-19 ICU unit. Chair of the Board of Trustees of the fund said more funds will be needed to assist other facilities.
This is one of the quick turnaround. That, in fact, this is the most rapid turnaround we have had in terms of giving money to an institution to do something, and you've delivered. And I'm using this as an opportunity to appeal for funds.
Matthew Kwedu, who facilitated the laying of the pipes, explains how it works.
It takes atmospheric air, sends into the compressor, it compresses it. It goes into the drying system, takes out oil and water and whatever it is, sends it into the oxygen tank. So oxygen produced will be at 93 plus or minus 3%.
Member of the board, Justice Ofe Akrufi, commissioned the oxygen unit.
We do so in the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
From the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, I am Hannah Odame for Joy News.
Now, persons living at Maximac Junction in the Furku municipality of the Ashanti region say they're living in fear following a fatal robbery incident on Tuesday. A young lady, yet to be identified, was shot and killed by unknown assailants on motorbikes who made away with her handbag. The residents want security in the area strengthened to deal with future occurrences. Nanea Jima has more in the following report.
Visible at the crime scene. According to eyewitnesses, the lady was at the junction in wait of a commercial vehicle when 4 assailants on 2 motorbikes shot her in the neck. Some of the residents who saw the incident unfold could only get access to the lady after the suspects had left the place. Some people plying their trade at the location fear for their lives. What is happening at Mazima is very disturbing. I am afraid for my life. This is the first time I am witnessing someone being shot. But for robbery, it happens here almost every week. One guy was shot after work. One guy was once robbed after work. Some people entered his shop with a gun to rob him here at Mazima. Police have commenced investigations with officers visiting the area. It adds to the number of shooting cases recorded in the region. Police has assured the public of quick resolution.
Now, police are hoping that with footage from the CCTV camera mounted along the route, they'll be able to find perpetrators of the crime. For Joy News, Nanea Ojima, Kumasi.
Crashes on Ghana's roads have worsened, especially this year, as 1,450 people have been killed in the first half of the year. This is a 27% increase compared with the same time last year. Now, Out of this number, motorcycle-related accidents killed 622 people and injured 2,500. While the National Road Safety Authority says it is making gains in other aspects of road safety, activities of especially Okada and tricycle operators seem to be derailing its efforts. In Techiman, however, traditional rulers there have joined local government authorities to change the narrative. Seth Kwame Boateng recently visited the town and came through with this report.
We take you to the Borno East regional capital, Techiman, which hosts not only Ghana's biggest market, but that of West Africa too. The town is a major trading center attracting people from all walks of life. The narrative is that Okada and tricycles quickly sprang up and offered alternative modes of transport. These small vehicles may be everywhere in the town, but they have been confined and restricted to specific streets.
The Traditional Council is very proactive.
The Dabenhine Ohineba Nana Owusu Ntwibo Siako II says one fatal accident triggered this action.
There was a bullion van for Bank of Ghana came to have an accident in Techiman here some time ago, and some of the victims have to be airlifted. All this amount to one of the reckless driving of this tricycle when it crossed a tanker. Then it also veered towards the bullion vans and crashed. So as a kingdom, we realized that the way the population was just growing, and at the same time, looking at the tricycle and other things, and the way people were patronizing, we decided to do something.
Under no circumstances must this happen again in this town. That was the resolution the Techiman Traditional Council made after that tragedy. Indeed, they walked the talk and met all interest groups involved, and then took action.
We decided to move all the tricycles from the main road, from the Kumasi end to the Holy Family Hospital end. Then we allow their system to be channeled through the ring roads.
So when you come to Techiman today, rarely would you find these commercial motorcycles on any of their highways. This has drastically reduced crashes. The National Road Safety Authority is pleased with the intervention of the traditional leaders. Kwesi Jenim Boateng is the Borno Regional Director.
The chiefs play a very strong role in the affairs here. So I think there's also respect for the traditional authorities and also their influences. Quite enormous. Then also the police also do well to enforce their presence.
A lot of the youth in Techiman have been kept busy because of these tricycles.
Initially we wanted to ban them, but we also realized that our natives, our people, our inhabitants are using them. Some are making good monies out of it, and for that matter, if you decide to block it, somebody is also going to go hungry.
The leader of these riders, Awal Mohammed, says they had to comply and stick to the ring roads assigned them so they could remain in business.
As we speak now, we have over 2,000 in Techiman alone. So if we should all crowd around that principal street, it makes traffic very, very difficult. So they wanted us to negotiate so that we would have to take some part of the road so that other vehicles to pass. So we looked at it, surveyed the town, and so that, well, we can also do it as an association. We called on our task force and other members and talked to them, and finally we agreed that through the principal street, we will not plow there. We will only outskirts it, and that will go connect us to the market.
Unlike other parts of Ghana, minors ride these tricycles freely. Here in Techiman, you dare not. That's according to Awal Mohammed.
We insist as an association that in order to curtail the rampant accidents there, all our riders should be at least 25 years and above. So with that, it's helping us, and so we have been creeping out those who are not that very mature, even though some one or two find their way in there. But anytime we see any of them, we some kind of seize the machine, call the owner to come, and then we advise the owner that this child or this person is not up to 25 years. and above. So they should not allow that happen, so that we will have some say in the face of the law.
You have your license? Good, good, good.
These riders had met the law's frown on their operations. This is the reason they are abiding by all the road traffic regulations, so attention is not shifted to them. So here in Techiman, every single rider has been issued with a license. My name is Seth Kwame Boateng from Techiman in the Bono East region for Joy News.
Now, do you know where your favorite Gakenke is prepared? The Joy Clean Ghana team Wednesday stormed Choko within the Ablekuma South Metro for community inspection. Checks at several kinky vending points in the area showed the food is cooked under highly unhygienic conditions. AME officials who were on the grounds confiscated the fermented dough and issued abatement notices to the vendors. Joy News' Manuel Kranting has been on the beat and our report.
Yeah, today we are inspecting homes because the environmental health promotion, we have series of thematic areas that we do. We have the house-to-house inspection, we have the market sanitation, we have the operations, and there are so many. Then today we want to test the house-to-house inspection and we want to see whether really people are going according to the bylaws of Accra Metropolitan Assembly 2017. Each house needs to register with an accredited waste collection company.
So she's been ordered to just move to allow the officers access into this particular chamber, which what they use it for.
Madam, what baby ena modeniama modeton konuna esi. Ena wutong eduane nti efi we nyina egu ha wo pese obi di ne nsa beka na wuti efi no ho etong eduane eye se mi fa mi we ebusiasem enye ye dia ugu ha oniama so na hye ha ena wo pese ene meji wo no hye ni bi ene mi kwanye fa ene eje wo no sania hatie a wo ye eduane wo sese no sania hatie ana ha na wo ye eduane nti sa eduane kra nya ade aye ba ba
na yenua wa
Mami mori henia fa mori e mori henia fa no enye efinumu se efinumu ne fa mori no nti sa wo fa mori wo de mori esi finumu na wo yifi e de besi ha no what's the difference nti dokro no kra nya da e be ma okwan wo beton wo ti ase nti ye be sesa nyama no nti wo sesa
nipa ni ho moni no
odisan ye friend is esi den
Ibeje no mi kwanye fine. Ibeje.
So madam, what are we going to do now? What we are doing is, you can just look at where she is cooking, where she even put the fermented dough. The whole place is very dirty, very nasty. You can see how the flies are hovering all around. She just goes there, prepares this and come and package it neatly and put it here. You come, you think it's as neat as the surrounding is, but it is not. We all saw what was happening inside there. So we are not going to allow her to sell this food. We want to do this so that people who are selling food to the public will ensure that the food that they sell for the public is made from a very neat and hygienic environment.
So this is another kinky vending spot that we are inspecting now.
Now we are and but at the moment, no, I feel so we see every week we see. We see weekly. Adia would the cat, madam, meba. We see every week, we see. Adia would the cat, so and I will see no one, so you shall send your identity out the cata flat and so. Say you fin now Sandy Akata if you so. Naturally say you different anameboa. And your mole na wo hona na ye den. Eh more. Oh, she baby a wo de e more e de asi. Auntie e shila. Nti ye. And so wa hu say enye. Nti say aden na wo pese ye.
Say hwem betumi atu.
Nti ye cho. So wow, say ye betumi atu dia. Na because she baby a she wo shito.
We need handcuff first to handcuff her.
She wo shito.
See, uko
apomodin krata wonni bi.
Enu dia me
wonni ma dia e friend food poison.
So in just a space of about a feet or so, you're having the dough that will be used to prepare the kinky, and then you're having rubbish also with flies hovering all around both of them. And this is where your favorite guy kinky really comes from.
Inti mame, adie ya odi akata aduane so na ye. Inti udi 190 now di adie aye fi e di akata aduane so. Ukra wo yare e na wo ye aduane wonni ma de kra eye o. Apa wodi krata wo inti anti sa aduane we ye ma wo nton. Ye be peje aduane di akọ. Krata wo bi. People take this food away. We won't allow her to sell the food. Take this thing away. Take it out. Yeah, but I want to tell you, when you now the day they are found, this is the pepper for the kinky and the salt. Look at pepper. And now the bell would be a kinky. Meboa. Nani a good one. What the bell wire then? Eddie, I then. Shito, meboa. What the back and Yadokuna Mudibedi? Shababy, egu. Who is writing the notice? There are two. So we are serving her and then Auntie Sheila. So as at now, we've consecrated this kenke because when she is preparing the kenke is very bad. She herself, she is sick. And she doesn't even know the kind of sickness that she's suffering from.
Right, so that is certainly not where my kinky comes from, and it probably may have or require a policy of know where your kinky comes from. We're taking a break here now. We're bringing you more business news. Stay tuned.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has revealed that there has been significant improvement in revenue mobilization for the first half of this year. Government statistician, the government actually, in the 2021 budget had forecasted almost 57 billion cedis in tax revenue. According to the minister, the GRA was just a short of a percentage in meeting the half-year target. Mr. Ofori-Atta tells Joy Business this will help fast-track the economic recovery and deal with the rising debt stock in the country.
Unfortunately, through mid-year, I think GRA has done extremely well. They might be about 1% behind, and that's impressive because we gave them a high target of some 57 billion, and they are working towards that. With the imposition of the Ghana ID card as a replacement for TIN, we have moved from maybe 5.5 million TIN numbers to now 15.5, and that should help, in terms of payment of taxes, and also the Ghana.gov, which is going to be launched this week, also would mean that leakages from MMDAs will reduce as people are paying digitally going forward. So I'm really hopeful about also domestic revenue mobilization to plug the gap and see how we go. But I mean, truly, if we are looking at anything like a Keynesian model of development, in times like this, you do have to make a choice, whether you want to stimulate the economy so that people can get back to work with investment, or whether you are going to wait to get income before you do that. But I think our Ghanaians are entrepreneurial and productive enough, and that we should take the risk of funding a stimulus package that will be helpful. But as you know, it's 30% from GOG and 70% from private sector, which we are working on.
Bank of Ghana says it is taking all cybersecurity concerns into consideration as part of the development of the digital currency expected to be piloted in September this year. According to the central bank, this is a complex area which is being carefully designed to ensure that the country's financial system is not open to cyber attacks through the currency platform. First Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Farah, disclosed in an interview with the central bank which is involving all stakeholders to safeguard the integrity of the new currency.
Bank digital currency. It is fiat money. It is cash on its own, which means it does not have to be backed by any other thing. It's just like your paper cash that you are saying that I want to keep part of it electronically, which means that you are free to take any transactions, decisions with that digital currency, similar to you do with cash or check or any other forms of payment. And that's what the central bank wants to bring into the space, then to allow all the financial technology companies, the banks, financial technology companies are the fintechs, the banks and other, to be able to create value added on the part of that digital cash. And it also shapes the area of cryptocurrency where people are looking for forms of electronic transactions, and they are going to Bitcoins and other areas which are not regulated. But when the central bank brings that digital currency in the space, it creates an instrument that is regulated by the central bank and allows people to do legal business in an environment that is regulated. So that is why you realize that it is a complex area, it is a highly technical area, and it's an area that we need to watch cyber security very carefully. Because once it's digital money, if the security features are not strong, then you can have people going into creating fraudulent ones. It is for this reason why we have to take our time to design it with all the strong security features, but introduce it in a pilot phase in what we call a sandbox environment. And then a sandbox environment allows you to operate in test innovations in an area where it is outside the regulated environment, so that when there are errors, it does not impact on the systemic environment. So we want to start rolling it out in a pilot phase. The Bank of Ghana already has a sandbox, which we've announced that we've introduced a sandbox. So we'll introduce the CBDC in the pilot phase in this sandbox, learn lessons, enhance it, and then once we've learned all the lessons, then we come out and open it up to the entire population.
Ecobank Ghana has paid a dividend worth 28.8 million cedis to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, representing the trust's 16% stake in the bank. Here's more. Managing Director of Ecobank Ghana, Dan Saki, in making the payment, told Joy Business the dividend payment reflects the buoyant performance of the bank amid the scourge of the coronavirus pandemic on the financial sector.
And this represents a significant increase when you compare with last year. We paid a dividend of around 15.7 million. So this reflects, one, the improved performance and also the improved capitalization of the bank, thus allowing the central bank to gracefully approve the payment of a higher dividend payment compared to what was approved last year.
Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofori-Tenkran, commended Ecobank for honoring its obligation. According to him, the payment comes in handy to support SNIT's 250 million cedi monthly pension payments.
Thank the MD and Ecobank for putting up good performance, which has led to us receiving a dividend. SNIT, we rely on investments to supplement the pensions that we pay. We actually collect contributions from existing members and then add investment returns and then pay pensioners, and whatever excess is left, then we plow back into investments. So whenever we make these investments, we are expecting a return.
Ecobank Ghana registered a year-on-year profit of 33% in the first quarter of this year to 168.2 million cedis. This was as a result of significant growth in interest income, largely investment in government securities, despite the impact of COVID on Ghana's economy. Still in the banking sector, Ecobank Ghana and GTB Bank controlled about 23.9% of the banking industry market share in 2020. Charles Nixon Yeboah has more in this report.
Ecobank Ghana and GCB Bank continue to show their dominance in the banking industry, controlling almost a quarter of the industry's deposits. Whilst Ecobank led the pack with 12.4% of the market share in 2020, GCB Bank controlled about 11%. The two banks have also launched mobile money platforms similar to that of the telecommunication firms Momo, helping them to gradually grow and increase their deposits. Stanbic, Absa, Consolidated Bank Ghana, Fidelity and Standard Chartered Bank Ghana placed 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. On loans, Ecobank Ghana dominated the industry, controlling 10.4% of the assets last year. Absa, Stanbic and GCB Bank followed suit in 2nd, 3rd and 4th respectively. Meanwhile, Zenith Bank maintained its number 1 position as the best bank in financial performance for last year. Standard Chartered Bank moved into the 2nd position, whilst Ecobank, which was 2nd in 2019, and GCB Bank placed 3rd and 4th respectively. On the contrary, FBN, UMB and Prudential Bank were the least ranked banks. The rankings emanated from an assessment of the creditworthiness and performance of the banks using capital adequacy ratio, asset size, management capability, earnings and liquidity.
And that'll be all for business, but we'll leave you with a summary of international business news this day.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the second part of the sports segment. It's me, Oric Wampofo, and we do continue with our Phobian Coronation series, and we'll be taking a look at midfielder Emmanuel Nete, who plays for Hearts of Oak, and he did play an instrumental role in the ending Phobia's 12-year wait for a league title. Now, he says that his mother has been an incredible pillar in his footballing career so far. He's been speaking to my colleague, George Ado Jr., and he filed this report.
Incredibly annoying or very insightful, depending on how old you are. But their love is unwavering, and they always find the strength to ensure a good life for their children. Mother of Accra Hearts of Oak midfielder Emmanuel Nete is obviously no different. Gloria Kayodai, who is a fishmonger at the Nungwa market in Accra, went above and beyond the call of a duty to help her son make it in football. The Ghana Premier League title winner is more than grateful.
The joy of every mom is to see their son making waves, making it big in his HSF career, and I'm happy that is where my mom finds herself now. She's so happy we've been able to win the league, and she's a proud mom. She's so proud of myself. She's so proud of herself. Even though in the beginning she had no interest in me doing this. But now the results are positive and it's yielding positive fruits. I say God bless her for me.
Emmanuel Nete's mom took supporting her son to another level and caught the eye when she turned up at the Nungwa market in an Accra Hartsville jersey for the first time, following the Phobians' title triumph in over a decade.
It just happened that on the day we won the league was the day my mom decided to put on the jersey, which I had no idea about. But then I was given the heads up by my brother, and I told him to give me some shots of mom in the jersey. And coincidentally, it was behind the trade, the business that has actually catered for me through my education, supported me to where I am today. So that's how come the pictures were taken at the market, and I decided to show the world I've got a supportive mom who actually loves what I'm doing.
Such a touching story, and a special gift to honor your mom, who has been there for you all this while on the biggest stage of all. Kudos, Emma.
Well, that was a report by George Adu Jr., but the full interview with our folk midfielder Emmanuel Nete airs throughout the whole of tomorrow on the Joy News channel, starting from 8:15 a.m. throughout the day up until 10 at night. So make sure you do catch a full glimpse of the midfielder talking about their victorious season. Before we go, let's talk about some sports infrastructure development, because Wembley Sport has constructed a drainage wall at the Adringano AstroTurf to prevent flooding at the facility. Here's a report with more details by my colleague Asari Bedia.
The ultra-modern Adringano turf, which was recently commissioned by Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, got flooded last month after torrential rains in some parts of Accra. However, the flooding was not as a result of poor drainage system at the facility. That's according to Robert Coleman, Chief Executive Officer of Wembley Sports, contractors of the facility.
What really happened was that there was a huge storm drain over here, and the drain broke its banks, and water from all the adjoining areas came on the pitch. 2 hours after it rained, all the water receded. There are pipes under. So it is not as if rain that fell on the football pitch, but it was because there was a problem with the area. When you look at the pitch, it is a low line, and we didn't have drains around. The major drain over there that is supposed to accommodate the water broke its banks, and that's how come that we had flooding on the pitch.
Robert Coleman also reviews Wembley Sports construction has put measures in place to prevent flooding at the Adringano AstroTurf.
We have done the retaining walls all over. Ghana Gas requested that we do it, which we have done, so that anytime it rains, we will not have such a problem again. When you are doing something in this country, people should not look at the bad side. Immediately that went out, people were making mockery of the government that they have done a pitch that we didn't have drains around and all that. But I believe it is as a result of the fact that water came on the pitch, but not as a result of water that fell directly on the football pitch.
The Adringano AstroTurf is in perfect shape. Currently, Ghana Premier League champions-elect Hearts of Oak have been using the state-of-the-art facility to prepare for their game against Wafa in Sogakope on Sunday.
Well, that report was by Joy Sports' Asari Bidiako, and that's how we'll be wrapping up the sports segment here. My name is Oreku Wampofo, and back to you, Israel, in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Oreku Wampofo, and that'll be it for the bulletin for this evening. I'm Israel Ime. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.